It sounds very chill, very mellow, ethereal. You're not trying too hard.
Someone must have royally pissed you guys off. Recently, SCUF decided they want the pro players they sponsor to actually start using their controllers instead of secretly using a Battle Beaver and not telling anyone. So they said, all right, please stop. And now we have the Envision and the Envision Pro. They gave us one Halloween gift and one mid-wired controller that I'll smack up at the end of the video. The Envision Pro is what we're taking a look at today, and I'll say it right out of the gate.
It's not bad.
But while it is good, it is nowhere close to revolutionary. Don't let SCUF or this nerd with a rusty beard tell you any different. All of the features you see here have been done by lesser-known third-party pro controllers or custom ones in the recent and distant past. Revolutionary it is not, but it is fairly priced and has good specs at that price. So yes, here I am, just like every other fucking content creator I've talked shit about, making a positive review about a company I've talked a lot of shit about. Rightfully so. So please God save my soul, and let's dive into SCUF's first good pro controller. I'll be brutally honest with you guys. I initially thought the Envision Pro was kind of a dumbass idea, and I initially planned to buy it to laugh at it. Most pro controllers are PC compatible in one way or another. Even pro controllers that aren't supposed to work on PC can still work on PC. So the Envision Pro being a PC controller, it doesn't just have to be good with controllers meant for computers, it has to be good with all of the pro controllers. We're talking about the DualSense Edge, the Elite Series 2, custom controllers like the ones from AIM and Battle Beaver Customs. And on paper, that's what we got, but it certainly wasn't cheap.
I want to feel like it's raining on me, okay?
Realistically, the Envision Pro being $180 is about $50 cheaper than what SCUF would have sold it for if it was an Xbox or a PlayStation controller. So I appreciate them not fucking us on the base price. And the website customization I'll be covering towards the end of the video isn't too pricey either, especially compared to their competitor, Big Black Penis. I'm not sure the Envision Pro could be any more than $180 at its base price because it is aggressively limited to Windows. No adapters, no Cronus Zens, nothing works with this thing at the moment of recording. That's racist. So our PC worms are pretty lucky here. They get an ultra-fast 2.4 GHz wireless and wired connection, boasting a 6 to 12 hour battery life that we'll discuss more later with the teardown. There are a total of 6 extra buttons for gaming purposes. You have the 4 on the bottom and the 2 side-mounted Sax buttons. What the fuck is a Sax? The inner 2 on the underside of the controller are clicky and can be plugged if you don't want to use them. Same goes for the Sax buttons. It also took me about a day to figure out what those plugs even were because, as you guessed, there was no manual included in the box because SCUF is a pack of dicks. Explain that thought process to me.
You shut the fuck up when I'm talking to you, boy.
The white OMRON switches found in the rear buttons can also be found in the triggers, which are adjustable and can be turned off. Those switches are also used in the ABXY and D-pad buttons, and this is one of the only controllers that does clicky ABXY and D-pad buttons properly. Within the RGB zone, you have a pretty good headphone jack that also works wirelessly, and 5G keys for macros or Chrome tabs or whatever the hell. All of this, not just the inputs, but the rest of the controller can be customized in the Corsair iCue software since SCUF was shaken down and mugged by Corsair a while ago. There's a rubber grip on the rear plate and a soft touch magnetic faceplate that can be removed to swap out the 2 additional thumbsticks that come in the box. The box also includes a very nice 10-foot braided USB-C cable. The 2.4 GHz dongle connected to it is a USB-A to USB-C adapter? What the fuck? And the USB port on the controller itself isn't a sinkhole, so if you need to, you can swap out the OEM cable for another one. Also included in the box is a pry tool in case your pussy-ass little weak fragile hands can't peel the faceplate or the swappable buttons off. And for those curious, fake touchpad head ass. But on paper, you have 2 more buttons in the Elite Series 2, faster triggers in the DualSense Edge, and better build quality in the Victor's Pro BFG. It's also faster than most Xbox controllers. I mean, I probably run faster than most Xbox controllers, but both wired and wireless, you're getting a 500 to 550 hertz consistent polling rate. So you're looking at a response time a little under 2 milliseconds. That includes the wireless, by the way. Overclocking is as pointless as the PS5 Slim because, at least in my opinion, first off, for this controller, it doesn't do anything. And while I haven't really talked about it too much, I have spoken about it lightly in the past, that 1 millisecond makes no goddamn difference. So a 500 hertz versus a 1000 hertz controller, in my opinion, it's not super significant. And on that topic, an interesting point I haven't really seen many people bring up in the reviews of the SCUF Envision Pro is the battery life for the 2.4 GHz wireless. Based on the response the DualSense Edge got, I'm going to assume that's important. And since your boy is the fucking undisputed champion of tech reviews here on YouTube, I was able to conduct, at least at the time of the recording, the only teardown on the entirety of the internet, because the rest of you reviewers are pussies. I was able to both locate and identify a 1500 milliamp hour 3.7 volt battery for the battery using the pry tool SCUF included in their own box and a very small screwdriver.
You fucking nerd!
The battery is identical to the one found in the normal DualSense, not the DualSense Edge. So depending on your usage of the RGB, the headphone jack, and the rumble motors, you can expect a 6 to 12 hour battery life. Side note, never fucking disassemble this. It's not too complex on the inside, but the battery is held down by an extremely tough adhesive, and it's very easy to break the battery and cause Samsung related events, or the board connected to the battery, and then you don't have a wireless controller anymore. Do not do this at home with your own controllers. At least not this one. There's one screw left on this board, and the only way to get to it is underneath the battery. The battery that's glued in. We're 20 minutes later, and I had to centimeter by centimeter separate the battery from the adhesive foam using 2 screwdrivers and a pin. The battery isn't anything special, but the controller isn't obese like the Obese Series 2, so I suppose that's a plus. The teardown also unmasked the white OMRON SMT microswitches used in the Clicky triggers, rear buttons, ABXY buttons, and D-pad. And it would have gotten away with it if the battery had exploded and killed me, but here we are. They're pretty meaty little bastards, rated for a grand total of 5 million clicks, which is a decent bit higher than the average Pro controller, which usually uses Kale switches rated for a pathetic 1 to 3 million clicks. With the lifespan they had, I kind of expected them to be a bit tougher, but they have a very, very light actuation force. And yes, 90% of this controller just uses one singular switch, but the actual designs of the buttons used on top of those switches is different. And in a couple of cases, it makes for a little bit more or a little bit less resistance. The ABXY and rear buttons are around 85 grams. The D-pad is noticeably strong as shit at 120 to 130 grams. And both the triggers takes about 75 to 80 grams to actuate, which is a little bit lower, well actually significantly lower than a lot of the other Clicky triggers I've tried. I've also said it before and I'll say it again, Clicky triggers are probably one of my favorite upgrades personally. I could drive around like every American woman in her 20s, usually not that good, or I can slide on the ops and talk shit. The triggers, and I mean really everything here has a unique physical shape, but the triggers feel like a very real trigger. Your fingers wrap around them pretty well, which gives them more of a trigger feel. And the bumpers above them are very, very unique in their shape. They're small, they're not clicky or anything, but they're very ergonomic and they blend extremely well with the triggers. I love the whole kit, but one small issue we have here is that the Hall effect triggers, so when you turn the Clicky triggers off, even when you have them on, there's a ton of jitter. I'm just chilling in the COD lobby and my controller's just... If you keep the dead zone for your triggers around 5-6% in the software, it does reduce or get rid of this entirely. Still pretty gay, but it's the only way to stop your controller from having seizures. I heard if you keep your internal dead zone at 5%, you could stop seizures too. Don't take medical advice from me. I have surgery in an hour. Clicky triggers are a personal favorite of mine, but with the SCUF Envision Pro specifically, in my opinion, the best feature here is the Clicky ABXY and D-pad buttons because they're very rarely done correctly. Earlier I said, other companies have been doing Clicky ABXY and D-pad buttons for years. It's nothing special, but what I neglected to say is most of them don't know jack shit. They put a rubber pad in between the button and the switch to dampen it like it's bad fucking news, which makes the keystroke or the travel distance take way longer, and a bunch of resistance is added to the button press. So at the end of the day, it might be just as fast as a normal membrane switch, but likely, in most cases, clicky buttons on a lot of these controllers are actually slower. As you can see from the only teardown on YouTube, gonna keep holding that over everybody, there is no rubber pad in between the ABXY buttons and the switch like there usually is for membrane buttons, and recently, for whatever reason, mechanical buttons. Out of all the devices I've reviewed, keep in mind I have 8 or 9 finished scripts sitting aside right now waiting for videos. All of them fall so short of these buttons. Those videos actually are on the way, should be here in November and December. Be sure to beat the shit out of the sub button if you're interested. The last of the OMRON switches on this controller are found all the way in the deep dark basement with 2 of the 4 rear buttons. In my SCUF Instinct Pro review, which boasts the same exact rear button design, I didn't really care for this all that much. This controller makes it bearable. It still isn't great, and my own hand attributes obviously have a lot to do with that, but a lot of people complained about this button design last time, so I'm going to assume most people will probably again be relegated to using the 2 on the outer edge rather than the 2 on the inside.
I can say, Scout's honored, this shit sucks.
I'd say the inner 2 buttons on this controller with this ergonomics and this design, they're usable, but they're still not they're not ideally placed. If you don't want the rear buttons there, SCUF included these little plastic plugs, which don't act as buttons. As I've said, they are there to plug the button so you don't accidentally press it. And 2 more of those plastic pieces were included in the box for the Sax Buttons, which is probably the most useful fucking item in that box. Yes, I know what you're curious about. You hit the Sax Buttons all the fucking time. I've been waiting to use Sax Buttons since like 2016, 2017. I've been waiting years. And whoever designed these is so mentally handicapped. Here's your Sax Button. Where's my finger at? Where the fuck is my finger? From my experience, you are probably going to be using the Sax Buttons for non-essential items like reload. I can't really see them being usable for very consistently used inputs like jump, or in Call of Duty, slide, or sprint. But I can't really just leave it there. The reason I started making these reviews in the first place was because I was good enough to be able to pick up most Pro controllers and be able to use them competently within a couple of minutes. And that's exactly what I did. So enjoy my COD gameplay. I don't think I did too bad. Now, I like the Sax Buttons kind of when I'm just using them alone. Like I said, I think it's more popular to use them for non-essential items, but I have to actually be honest with you guys because that's what this video is. Most of that performance came from the thumbsticks. These sticks are something else. They're likely a different variation on the Alps module that we're currently used to. These ones just have some pretty, stupid, dumb colors. Pretty sure it doesn't change the color of the stick drift at all. The average tension here is almost 60 grams, which is a decent bit above the average Xbox controller. I'm unable to find a specific part number or model number for these sticks to be able to get any type of conclusive data, but in my opinion, they feel very, very fast, very agile, very accurate, closer to a DualSense, way closer to a DualSense than I'd say any Xbox controller has ever come. These might even be the same thumbstick modules that are used on the newer DualSenses. I can't confirm that, but I can confirm through JoyRes Tester, which tests the resolution of the joystick, that it's very consistent. In 1 or 2 of the corners it's a bit shaky, but overall, the thumbsticks are very consistent, and in-game they feel unreal. As I said in my Instinct Pro review, the new design SCUF has on the sides of their thumbsticks, even the dome one, make them extremely grippy, and the rubber compound feels very, very good. And yet again, the anti-friction rings finally work, which is a rare thing for these Pro controllers, believe it or not, because these sticks actually glide and feel smooth when going around in circles around the rings. The dome sticks that are swappable, that SCUF included in the box, they're nice, but they just couldn't give a nigga a case.
You're not allowed to use that word. Why would you say that? You can't say that. I'm racist.
I'm testing to see if I could still say that. I paid for this. This is my video. The weirdest thing about the sticks, though, is that their cone shape allows both Xbox and PlayStation KontrolFreeks to fit on them. Obviously, the Xbox ones are a lot more snug and grip onto the stick a lot more, so I'd personally recommend PlayStation KontrolFreeks because they don't slide around, but they aren't so aggressive with their grip they might end up damaging the stick. Be sure to use code vCuda when buying Freaky controls. You can also use code vCuda when you go on the website to buy— Nah, I'm fucking with you guys. While we're on the website, might as well take a look at the customization that the controller has to offer, which all in all isn't actually that bad, especially for a SCUF. In terms of pricing too, again, not that bad. You get full aesthetic customization for just about everything you want. A quick side note about the customization before we move on, there are no performance features that you can add on the website. The real customization for the Envision Pro for me begins with the iCue software, which I'll start by covering the G buttons. These are just extra inputs. While the iCue software does allow you to map anything you want anywhere, the G buttons are specific extra inputs for macros, turbos, volume up, volume down. You can do a keyboard stroke. Hell, you can even have it open up a specific Chrome tab with the press of a button. Gotcha, bitch. Unlike the 4 rear inputs or the Sax buttons, clearly the G buttons are meant for things outside of gaming. And again, all this can be customized in the iCue software, which everyone criticized when they first heard about it. Of course they did. And for good reason. My PC both weighs an extra 30 pounds because of all the bloatware I have from these controllers, and all of those programs are buggy pieces of shit. Thankfully, iCue doesn't disappoint with its abilities. You can save profiles and switch to them on the fly with the profile button on the faceplate. Profiles update in real time and can be customized right there in real time on the spot, so you can test them if you like. But even though it can do that, you don't get onboard memory. Observe, as all my profiles vanish into thin fucking oxygen as I close the iCue software, which sucks. But, again, pretty feature-rich. You get full button remapping of the whole controller, plus keyboard and other PC inputs, keystrokes, media options like volume, open apps, etc. You can customize the dead zones and curves for both the thumbsticks and the triggers, which is new. Custom RGB profiles with effects like static, fades, and pulses. Basic vibration intensity settings for the basic vibration motors that are installed in the device. The device settings tab has options for firmware updates, RGB brightness, auto shut off, eco mode, which disables the RGB and vibration to save battery, a battery icon in your Windows notification cluster, and your 3 custom profiles that can be saved on board. Or not, because the onboard memory has Alzheimer's. They even say in the software in a couple of pop-ups that as long as your controller is connected via USB-C, you should be able to just plug your controller in and use it with its profiles without the iCue software, and that is complete bullshit. That's never once happened. I mean, dude, right before I started recording this video, the controller still works, but my profiles don't work wired anymore. There were a couple of issues I forgot to note with the iCue software. For instance, these fun little squares. They love to pop up on Chrome. Occasionally they do it on games as well, only when iCue's open, of course. And also, that new sick Fortnite update? Yeah, well, downloading that, 30 megabytes per second, not too fast. But you want to know what's worse is 19 megabytes per second when iCue's open. Shitty download speeds, screen waffles, and the profiles bug out often.
You know what? Is that actually happened?
Of course it happened. I think this is a reflection of how, like, just...
Oh my god.
Don't get me wrong, iCue has some good features, and overall I think it's okay, but people don't hate Pro Controller softwares generally because Pro Controller softwares don't have good features. They hate them because they do that shit. I expect to see an infinite amount of threads, comments, this, that, and the other, talking about the issues with the Envision Pro over the coming months, but I expect a lot of them to be about iCue. In fact, I anticipate things coming up with iCue, the thumbsticks, of course. Hell, who knows? I haven't seen these switches in a controller yet. Maybe these switches are terrible. It's all kind of a mystery right now since the controller's so new. I always say, give it 4, 6, 8 months, and then come back and see how it is. You have to give them time to get fed up with life, and then bosh. That's what it's, decide to do. I haven't seen many problems from reviewers either. I haven't seen many reviews, to be honest. But with the new Xbox Series X and PS5 SCUF controllers, that being the Reflex and the Instinct Pro, I kind of haven't seen as much of a wave of issues as I have with the previous SCUF controllers, which, like I said, they used to have thumbsticks that would degrade, paddles that would break, sticks that would drift, buttons that would double click, warranties that were shit, connection issues that would happen all the time. But with the new controllers, while there are still problems here and there, and people are very vocal about them when they happen, don't get me fucking started on that, it's not as bad as it was with last-gen PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers. And I think the Envision Pro has a very good chance at following suit with the new SCUF controllers. SCUF has big-time upgraded their warranty from 6 months to 1 year for all of their current controllers. So if you do have something that goes wrong with your Envision Pro, first off, God help you, but yeah, try that.
I forgot to record a transition into my rant about the base SCUF Envision. Please give me a break. I've been working on this video for 30 days. Also, notice how my Android camera looks better than the iPhone one.
Now hear me out.
Now listen to this. Listen to this.
The main selling points for the Envision Pro are the fast wired and wireless connection, these 6 extra buttons, and in my opinion, the clicky triggers that can be turned into normal triggers. So with the Envision, you'd really only be buying it for the 6 extra buttons, decently fast wireless connection, and the iCue software. You don't care about the trigger stops, the rubber grip, the wireless connection, none of that. You just want 6 extra buttons and the iCue software for whatever reason, because you're a weird beard.
Beard's weird. Right. Yelling at the mic. Weird beard.
If you're just looking for 6 extra buttons and happen to be in the US, Amazon US still sells the Razer Wolverine Ultimate for a significantly cheaper price. And I also kind of think at $130, you should have trigger stops. I'd almost be more willing to recommend the Elite Series 2 Core over something like that. At least its 4 paddles are like easily usable. Maybe if you wanted something for fighting games, this would work, but overall, no. I can't see myself reviewing it. That was my review. There you go. You know, it's been wild these past couple of years because I went from hating SCUF to liking some aspects of their newer controllers, but kind of still feeling like they're a little overpriced. And especially today, they're really overpriced for what they are. They're not worth a damn. But this, damn, son. Where'd you find this? I personally think the very hardcore PC controller player would love a device like this. Mainly because, like I said, there's pretty much no way to get it to work anywhere else. I clearly think they're targeting the demographic you see streaming quite often. The streamers, the gamers, the content creators who play PC 95% of the time and are playing controller because that's just what they do. In the beginning of the video, do you remember how I made that joke about how SCUF really just wanted their pro players that use Battle Weaver controllers to come back? Not very much joke. Sweaty PC controller peasants yearn for a stable wireless connection, a fast response time, a bunch of extra inputs, clicky buttons, clicky triggers, fast buttons, and software that offers them everything that they need and want. And you know, there's all the stuff in the iCue software that's for non-gamer activities like skipping songs or pausing music, as if you are streaming. Maybe I have an app mapped to one of these buttons so I can open it while I'm streaming. It just seems like a paradise for the pro gamer, the content creator, and the streamer. I literally used this to manage the volume while I was editing my videos. The past 2 projects I've been using this to help me with my edits. Regardless of how good this controller is though, man, this is a blatantly retarded business move. You're entirely targeting a very small portion of PC players who mainly only play controller and don't play Switch or console or mobile or anything else, because if they did, there'd be no point in buying this. If you play anything that isn't just specifically PC games, basically what I'm saying is if you're not me. If you're not me, if you're sitting here and you have an Xbox, you have a PlayStation, or you have this, you have that, at least get something that works with adapters. I'm of the belief that the Envision Pro is built for purpose, and it does a very good job at that specific purpose. But because that purpose is so niche, and at least more niche than their other controllers would be, I can't realistically sit here and think that most of the people watching this video would actually consider purchasing something like this because they have multiple consoles, or they have the consideration of in the future buying a console or something like that, or they don't like the PlayStation, the Gay Station, Thumbstick layout, which I don't mind, I like them both. But I think it does good for what it is, and I think especially for some form of societal aids like a streamer, a YouTuber like myself, it's especially useful as well. I think if anyone from SCUF is seeing this, you guys have done a killer job, and I absolutely do recommend doing more stuff like this with sub $200 price points, please. I am sick to death of paying $200+ for your controllers when they're not worth a damn. How in the fuck is this the most feature-rich controller you have, and it's $40 cheaper than your shitty Xbox controller that isn't worth a damn nowadays? For those who really want to understand how bad SCUF controllers have kind of gotten because of the new devices that have been added to the market in the last year or so, the Elite Series 2 Core is 10 times more recommendable than the SCUF Instinct Pro. 10 times more recommendable. I truly enjoy the Envision Pro. I probably will not be looking at the normal Envision controller, but I won't say I'll never do that. I'm going to say probably, because I've had a knack for reviewing SCUF controllers after saying I'm not going to do it. I think I'm also going to take a look at the Reflex at some point, mainly just to shit on it, but that's in the further future. Right now, I'm working on a bunch of other stuff. Well, I may not have made it seem that way in this video, probably for the better. I wanted it to be a honest review and not something that's just like, whoa, this is amazing. This is definitely my favorite controller to use right now. Owners, please let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you're excited for more of the best controller reviews on YouTube, you be sure to hit that red sub button. That's not red anymore, I keep saying that. Be sure to comment under SCUF's post. Not bad. And hopefully I will be able to see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.